Audre Lorde, can you all hear me? Audre Lorde once wrote near the end of their life, I work, I love, I rest, I see, and learn, and I report. I was thinking about these words by, I think we can all agree, a very powerful keynote, yes? A very powerful keynote. In addition to a powerful opening by students, because we are honoring someone. I have a written script, but I think certain things must be said. We're honoring a pioneer for whom founded a program that is now a department that began by student movements, right? Began by the occupation of Hopkins Hall. All of us who teach, for those, and know how many here took the introduction to Africana Studies over your time at Williams or even currently, but this is something that we teach, right, to ground us. And so with that, and mindful of time, let me begin. Good afternoon, and I trust that you all are thus far for Bolin Legacy Weekend having both an exciting and rejuvenating time, both socially but also intellectually, and perhaps I should have added politically. My name is Neil Roberts, and I am Associate Dean of the Faculty here at the college, where I also am a core member of the Africana Studies Department. And it is my great honor, and say that again, great honor to co-present the Ephraim Williams Medal to the distinguished historian, pioneer in Africana thought, and founding chair of the program at the college that would become what we now call the Department of Africana Studies, namely Dr. Joseph Earl Harris. When I was an undergraduate, and no, I'm not going to say that year, you can look it up. When I was an undergraduate, I was fortunate to have a mentor. And right, there's a distinction, right, between advisor and mentor. So just to be clear, right? I was fortunate to have a mentor halfway through my studies who introduced me to a world of ideas that I had never encountered before. He was a Ghanaian scholar who lived through his country's transformation from what was then the Gold Coast to post-colonial Ghana. He was the first faculty member to write a letter of recommendation on my behalf. I remember being terrified, right, to be able to simply ask a letter of recommendation. And it was then for a then nascent pilot national program called MMUF, now named the Mellon Mays Undergraduate Fellowship Program, which we have here at the college. This individual's name was Anani Jijenyo. Though I did not know it until many years later when I received the job offer from Williams and I was trying to figure out what to do, after several years I reached back to Professor Jijenyo and found out that Professor Jijenyo graduated from Williams in 1965, just a few years before Professor Harris began his faculty position here on campus. Jijenyo belonged to a generation of African students who were part of what has been subsequently dubbed the airlift. That is, a period in which U.S. liberal arts colleges, including Williams, partnered with various independent African polities to provide education and funding to talented students, with the intention that those students would ideally return to the continent or, at minimum, remain in regular contact with people, organizations, and institutions in their home countries. Professor Jijenyo became a specialist on blacks in Latin America, particularly Afro-Brazilians and the Brazilian polity. Jijenyo gave me a single gift at my undergraduate graduation, a book titled The African Diaspora. This book, if you have not read it, and I checked before a couple days ago, Williams has this book and many others. This book, The African Diaspora, features 6 essays originally presented as the Walter Prescott Webb Memorial Lectures at the University of Texas at Arlington. The lead chapter, entitled The Dynamics of the Global African Diaspora, was by a Dr. Joseph E. Harris. And it's a brilliant meditation on the field of inquiry that Harris worked assiduously, and I'd say again, assiduously for years to create. It simply blew my mind and inspired me after graduation to keep reading several other texts by Dr. Harris, such as his important 1982 volume, The Global Dimensions of the African Diaspora. And we all continue to learn from and be inspired by Harris's numerous scholarly interventions. Professor Harris is an Africanist who made the provocative, and I believe the ultimately persuasive case that the physical, spiritual, and socio-political movements of Africans and peoples of African descent over centuries should be studied and understood in relation to one another. Put differently, the African diaspora for Harris is a term and a phenomena that helps capture these relations. This idea of an African diaspora is useful as well to interpret movements of peoples and ideas within Africa, not merely only Africa looking outward or outward kind of back inward. Dr. Harris was born in North Carolina, educated at Howard University. Any other Howard University presence here? Those, yes, raise of hands on my family, others' families, HU, I always say positive things about HU. Educated at Howard University and Northwestern University, served in the U.S. Army in the 1950s, and has had an illustrious academic career teaching at institutions of higher education in Africa, as well as institutions in the United States, including Williams College from 1969 to 1975, and back at his alma mater, HU, or the Mecca, right? As a distinguished history professor, then senior administrator, and then institution builder, which it's important to say, institution builder, that latter quality being what Dr. Harris demonstrated here, deftly during his tenure at Williams. And in addition to Professor Harris's contributions as the founding chair of the then Afro-American Studies Program at Williams, we were fortunate to have Harris on campus again in the late 1980s as a visiting scholar. Now, if I read to you even an excerpt of page 1 of Professor Harris's publications, I would go over the time that I've been allotted, but I believe in the via media, so I invite everyone to consult the dossier that we prepared on Harris's published scholarship available online as part of the materials for this weekend's celebrations. Black faculty such as myself across fields, right, across all fields at the college are indebted to the groundbreaking paths that Dr. Harris charted for us. We in the Department of Africana Studies are forever grateful to Dr. Harris in founding and also developing the Afro-American Studies Program, which, as I opened with, reflected students' diasporic movements and calls for institutional change then, and if we're speaking of legacies, those calls continue to this day. So, Professor Harris, this is where I get to shut up and say that my colleagues in Africana Studies have prepared the following video to express to you their respective and our respective congratulations and thank you. So, if we could please play the video.
Good afternoon, Bowling Weekend guests. I am James Manigo Bryant, Chair and Professor of Africana Studies. I am honored to join you today through technology that seemed a far-off future in the spring of 1993, when I took a course at Tulane University called Africa in Hollywood, taught by Professor Cora Presley. Our first reading assignment was Professor Joseph Harris's book, Africans and Their History, and I still had my original copy. The text grounded us in Africa's pre-colonial and colonial past before we examined more closely the bizarre stereotypes and portrayals of the continent in U.S. film. I had no idea then that Professor Harris had not only blazed a trail for me intellectually, but that he had laid solid ground for a professional path I would begin 20 years later at Williams. So thank you, Professor Harris, for everything, for your scholarship, for your institution building, for your teaching, for your example. Congratulations on your well-deserved Ephraim Williams Medal.
It is such an honor to be this year's Sterling Brown Visiting Professor in the legacy of Professor Joseph Harris. Thank you for your commitment and your bravery.
Greetings and hello, Dr. Harris. My name is Vanada Ford, and I'm an assistant professor here at Williams College in the Department of Africana Studies. And like you, I am also a two-time graduate of Howard University, where I received first my Master of Divinity degree and later my PhD degree under the direction of your friend and colleague, Melbourne Cummings, who is the wife of your friend, the late Dr. Robert Cummings. I also had the privilege to work under your friend and colleague, the late Emery Talbert. I want to thank you for your dedication and hard work in creating the blueprint and laying the foundation for the Africana Studies Department and major here at Williams College. It is through your service, dedication, and hard work that I'm here today, and I want to say thank you. Congratulations on your award, and have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Congratulations, Dr. Joseph Harris, on this well-deserved recognition. I'm ever aware of how the path I now navigate was forged by those who came before me, like you, Dr. Harris. Thank you for your service as the first chair of Africana Studies at Williams College. Your commitment and perseverance then still offers models for those like me now who will hold the role of chair soon. I'm so happy for you today, especially given that you are a fellow North Carolinian and Northwestern alum who is receiving this honor. Thank you so much for your contributions to Africana Studies at Williams College and globally.
Hello to everyone celebrating the Bowlin Legacy Weekend. I am LeBron Domenico Bryant, and I send you greetings from UNC Chapel Hill, where in 1990, Dr. Harris, you served as a Reynolds Research Scholar. In 2019, we commemorated the 50th anniversary of Black Studies at Williams, and at that time, I curated a special collections exhibit entitled For Such a Time as This. In the guide that accompanied that exhibit, I wrote, "To consider 50 years of Africana Studies at Williams College, then, is to recognize the ways that the formal study of people of African descent that was institutionalized in 1969 is tied to the longer, broader histories of Black Williams, where the ebb and flow of Black people and pivotal moments in their experiences at Williams made plenty good room for what Africana Studies has since become. I hope you can tell, Dr. Harris, from the remarks of my colleagues, that we are honored that you have paved the way for us as you did, that your work and dedication and scholarship have made plenty good room for us. We are honored that you have returned to Williams and on the occasion of receiving the Ephraim Williams Medal, no less. I cannot think of a more deserving recipient. So thank you, Dr. Harris, for the instrumental role you played in our founding, in our continuation, and in our legacy. Congratulations.
Congratulations again, Professor Harris. And at this time, I'd like to invite up President Maud Mandel to the stage and provide remarks and the formal bestowing of the Ephraim Williams Medal.
Hello, everybody. Before I recognize Dr. Harris, let me first add my warm welcome to the many alumni and guests who've returned to campus to celebrate the Bowlin Legacy Mentorship Weekend and the dedication of our new Davis Center. I hope you've all had a chance to go over there and see it and have had a chance to celebrate in all the major developments that are taking place on campus. I am really so happy to be part of this celebratory occasion, and thank you all for your commitment to Williams, to our students, and to each other. Enjoy it all, and of course we hope you'll please come back often to this home away from home. Billy, I also really want to thank you, and I want to congratulate you and just say how meaningful, these glasses are making me blurred, so now I can really see you. Just to say how wonderful it was to hear your remarks and how inspiring and joyful. So thank you for sharing a little of yourself with us. It's very meaningful. You really are a shining example of the impact of a liberal arts college and where that can lead and the power to move that forward. So thank you for that. And now it is my honor to recognize Professor Joseph E. Harris with one of the college's highest honors. So the Ephraim Williams Medal is awarded to a non-alumnus who has demonstrated exceptional service and loyalty to Williams. This is only the 15th presentation of this medal. And it must be said immediately that you were the first Black faculty member at a college that had existed 176 years without appointing one. You were also the founding chair of the Afro-American Studies Program, created in the aftermath of student protests in the 1960s. That program, as you've heard, is now the Department of Africana Studies, and the courses that you taught have evolved, as of this academic year, into an Africana Studies major. Those facts alone make you, let's pause there. Those facts alone make you a pivotal figure in our institution's history, but there's so much more to the story. Hired at Williams in 1969 with a strong recommendation of your mentor at Howard University, Rayford W. Logan of the Williams class of 1917, you immediately began breaking new ground in the curriculum. You pressed a history department traditionally fixed on the stories of America and Europe to include Africa and Asia in its focus. You recruited faculty members of color to join you, enriching our campus and our community. You introduced courses of transformative significance to your students, especially Williams' then small but growing population of Black students. In class, you were demanding but engaging, creative and captivating. You saw in your students potential that they sometimes did yet not see in themselves. You devised imaginative assignments to tease out that potential. And many Black Williams alumni of that era have remarked with gratitude upon the example you set for them as a model, not just for college life, but for all of life. They recall how very important it was as young students to watch Professor Harris, his extraordinarily kind and gracious wife, Rose, and their two children, not just navigating Williams and Williamstown, but thriving here. In 1975, you left Williams to take up a prestigious role as chair of history at Howard, your alma mater. Fortunately for us, you maintained strong personal and professional relationships here, including as a visiting scholar at the Oakley Center for the Humanities and Social Sciences. The scholarly world came to know you as a leading light in African history, and especially as the influential founder of an entirely new field, the African diaspora. Likewise, you are widely admired as the author and editor of pathfinding studies that simply must find a place on the bookshelves of anyone serious about Africana studies. Here, though, we remember you as Joe Harris, brilliant yet humble, a professor who made a difference, a devoted family man who also cared deeply about his larger family of students, a change maker who nudged a sometimes stumbling Williams towards what it wanted to become. Most important, perhaps, you're beloved here as a teacher and mentor who inspired our undergraduates more than a half century ago and who continues to inspire our alumni today. Joseph Earl Harris Sr., Williams College, is proud to bestow on you its Ephraim Williams Medal. Please come up.
Thank you very much. I can see you on that. I was not asked to say anything. You said everything that it is to be said.
Thank you.
But you,
Well, say thank you. You don't need to make a speech, just say thank you.
that little chat had to do with why I had no indication as to what I was supposed to do here today. But I came anyway, and I must say I'm overwhelmed by this recognition. Thank you so much, President Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You continue to carry on the work, and I know that because I continue to maintain contact with members of your department. I must also say, though, that I was reminded of something else here at Williams. When I came here for an interview in 1969, there was a protest. And I'm back here again to witness another protest. Now, I don't know if that's a good sign for Williams. I like to think that it is. I owe a great debt to my family. You can tell from that menu that was read, or the bio, that I've been around a long time. And I've shared that long time with journeys throughout much of the world, seeking people of African descent and their role in the development of cultures, their sharing of cultures, and the difficulties therein. My wife said, one thing I hope you will not do, Joe, is to stand up and make a long speech that has nothing much to do with scholarship, because that's what you're supposed to do as a professor. So she's not here, and I think I'll go a little bit longer than she might have. I thank my family for that. We're a small family, and I had good support, including that given by my daughter, who is here, Joanne. And a son who followed us as well, but was cut short in his life. But he stood by me as well, and I must admit that all of them contributed to whatever I had to do and whatever I have achieved. It occurred to me as I sat here that I stand where a lot of others stood, but who failed to recognize or did not have the opportunity to develop the study of a great people, a great continent. And one of those individuals was Rayford Logan. Rayford Logan, professor at Howard University, was the one who set me on this trail. When I received my master's at Howard University, Rayford Logan said, "Mr. Harris, follow me." And I walked with him to a small room at Howard, and he pulled down a map. It was a map of Africa. And he said, "Mr. Harris, that is the continent of the future." That was in 1952, a long time ago. I took his word, and not only that, he urged that I seek a position at an established institution that gave PhDs at that time. And I left Howard University and went to Northwestern, and which had the largest program at that time. And I say that mainly because it was a journey where I began the studies on Africa, completed the higher level at Northwestern, and ended up at Williams, where I began to put together what the chairman indicated a moment ago. It's a long journey, and I have enjoyed it, and I appreciate very much the recognition that I have received here today. I congratulate you for giving me the inspiration to achieve. Many of my students, I think, are here today. I've seen some of them. I would like for them to stand, let them, if they are here today. Those are, you don't realize where you are until many years later. You don't realize the impact that one has. I'm grateful, deeply honored to receive this award. Thank you so much.